After almost 7 years of full-time travel and 64 countries visited in total, we have finally parked our van and established a home base here in Florida. But the biggest question we get is this really it? Well, today we're answering some of your questions, opening up about our past, the raw reality of the road, and for those who stick around with us until the end of this video, we're going to actually talk about what might be next for us. Now, we've compiled a list of questions that you guys have been putting in the comments for the past few months, and we're going to try to answer them. We haven't spent a lot of time looking at them, so you're getting the true, raw Snow and Curt. We're going to read a question and do our best to answer it.
Be careful what you ask for, you just might get it.
You ready?
Let's do it.
All right, question number 1. We get asked a lot about the before times. How did you two actually meet? And did you know early on that you were both designed for this kind of unconventional life? You go first.
Well, we met at work, actually. We both worked in construction. I worked at an asphalt plant as a quality control manager, and Snow worked as a project manager. So we didn't work in the same office, but we
crossed
paths.
Yeah.
And
I'll just tell y'all, I had to chase him a little bit. He was a little stubborn, believe it or not, and it was a long, long time ago. Guys, we have been together for pretty much 25 years now.
Yeah.
So that was way back then.
Amazing journey, guys.
Yeah, did we know we were going to have some sort of unconventional life? We didn't sit down and talk about it from the get-go. I think I always knew I wanted to travel. I didn't know how or when or why that would happen. I think it kind of slowly developed. We started doing vacations pretty early on in our relationship.
Yeah, I think things changed all the while. We certainly didn't have any dreams or desires of van life. Travel was something that we both knew we wanted to do. But no, this was never in our cards until
the very last minute.
Until we decided this is what we were going to do.
Very last minute.
And so we're used to kind of adjusting on the fly, and well, that's what we've been doing our whole life.
Yeah.
So.
All right, number 2. People are always curious about our family dynamic. Did you two always know you didn't want to have kids? And was travel always a set goal for you? Or did that dream develop over time? I always knew I didn't want kids. From an early age, I never wanted them.
At a younger age, I did. Now, as I got older, I reached the point where I said, it's just too late.
By the time we met, we were both on the same page there.
And I think by the time we decided to go on this journey, we were happy we didn't have them. Because, as I always tell everybody, well, in Spanish, with kids, it's muchos responsabilidad and muchos costos. And so, anyway.
This journey would have never happened if we
all make different paths in life. Ours was not to have children, and we made the right decision for us.
Yeah, and that dream, though, we talked about that in question 1. It did develop over time how much we wanted to travel and the sacrifices we were willing to make to achieve that travel. Yeah. All right, the next one. This person says, we are dying to know. How did you manage the finances to travel for as long as you did? Was YouTube enough to fund that whole journey, or was there more to it?
Well, we have always been career employees, workers, climbed the corporate ladder, all that type of stuff, disciplined in 401k and all that type of stuff. So we had some squirreled away from retirement. We cashed in the equity on our house, gave us a little bit of a nest egg. It wasn't enough to make the distance. We knew we had to make some additional money. That's where YouTube came in. And we did pretty good on YouTube.
Yeah, we were very fortunate. YouTube is difficult. It's not just to go out there and make videos and make money thing. We treated it like a job, and fortunately it paid us like a job. And it covered a lot of our routine travel costs. But any big thing that came, and not at the beginning. At the beginning we were hitting the savings hard. As YouTube started to grow, I'd say by 2.5 years in, it was making enough to cover our day-to-day travel costs. But big things like van breakdowns or medical costs, shipping the van,
huge.
that all came straight from our travel nest egg, which was pretty much a result of us selling our home that we had been paying for years and years and years. So we had quite a bit of equity in that. So it was kind of a joint thing.
Well, and also I'll say that if we did this trip exclusively in the U.S. with the cost of living in the U.S., then the YouTube income would not have supplemented enough to cover the cost. So could we have done this in the U.S. with our growth and the size of our channel? Absolutely not. And in fact, after COVID, when we saw our first bump in inflation and then various other events happened around the world that caused inflation, prices kept bumping up, especially as it related to shipping. But still, it was much, much cheaper in the United States. And so the U.S. YouTube income in other more economical countries is what made it kind of work for us.
That's what made it work, yeah. Yeah, so yeah, we were very fortunate, but YouTube did not cover everything. We definitely were zapping our savings account all along the way. All right, what do we got next? You have always been so transparent about the lows, but looking back, what was the absolute hardest moment of the entire van life journey? You go.
Well, mine is absolutely etched in my brain. I'll never forget it. But Snow had a heart attack right after we went to Machu Picchu. Unfortunately, we got down to Buenos Aires in time to get her to the hospital. They popped 2 stents in her and stitched her up and said, you need to go home, talk with your family, and get medical advice back there. You probably won't be back. That was an incredibly hard time. We had to deal with all that in Buenos Aires. Of course, Snow was in the hospital. I did not have a support system. I didn't have help from family. Fortunately, Anna, thank you, love you, who worked at the hospital, was a big help to us. But we got back home and Snow's heart started failing, her lungs started filling with fluid. We were at our parents' house, my parents' house, and she wanted to drive to the hospital in Florida. She wanted to be close to her family. And quite honestly, guys, we did not think Snow was going to make it. And I can just remember that drive from my parents' house to, sorry guys, even today gets a little emotional. I can remember that drive and Snow's like, you can stop to get something to eat or you can stop to get something to drink. And I said, I don't need to stop for me. If you need anything, I'll stop. And it was just such a hard, intense moment. And I just didn't think we were going to make it. And we got to the hospital and the hospital was so bad, guys. They lost the medical records that our doctors in Argentina had transcribed into English. We didn't see a doctor for 2 days. It was just a mess. We didn't know anything. And I never forget, during that time, we needed the money because of all the expenses that we were incurring. So we had to make the videos, and we decided to be transparent about this because we thought it would help. And I ended that particular video right there with a tribute to Snow, because that's kind of how I was feeling at the moment. And I'll never forget all the backlash I got for ending the video like that, like with Snow dead. And here I am just trying to hold everything together and take care of Snow and do all this stuff. And people were so mean and cruel about that particular moment that we were sharing. And I just remember it so vividly from so many different perspectives. So that was mine.
Yeah. Yeah, the heart attack, that whole 3 to 4 months of not knowing if I was going to survive. And then starting to figure out that, okay, I was going to survive, but was travel over? And was the journey, there was all these unknowns. And for me, before we figured out I was going to probably survive, but still not understanding the long-term impact, I was worried about Curt, what he would do without me. So it was very emotional, for sure, as you can see on our faces here. This is a tough one, and we don't talk about it often. But it was really hard. But I will tell y'all something else. 6 months ago, that would have 1,000,000% without a doubt been the hardest part of van life to me. But if you ask me today, the hardest part of van life is quitting it.
Yeah.
It has been a rough
really
adjustment. And that's a whole nother video. We'll talk about that for anybody that's doing van life and has to start figuring out how to exit it, the stuff that you have to deal with and think about and all that. So
it's been those.
Sorry, guys.
Those are our lows,
Sorry,
guys.
You asked.
Those are our lowest of lows.
Let me get these tears gone. Anyway, let's move on to the next question, okay? Oh, I don't even know where we were. All right. What were the quiet, the human moments that defined this journey for you? Not the ones that looked all glamorous on camera, but pick a few moments that actually meant the most.
I'll say we were in El Salvador on the beaches of El Tunco, and it was this beautiful little place. It was a very humble place, and the family that kind of managed this little, hostel on the beach with a little pool. I mean, they had chickens and kids and cats, and it was just so cool. And we were out there on the beach. We had a nice lookout, and I was filming, and there was this girl out there surfing. And she was an amazing surfer, and she would get up after every ride and smile, and we were watching her. Long story short, we kind of went off to explore El Salvador. It didn't work out. We had some time to kill. We came to this beach, and this girl, we learned, got struck by lightning while we were gone, like a day before we returned, and actually passed away. She was a young girl. I think she was 18. Catherine Diaz was her name. And everybody in the community was struck. We were struck. We came back. We got to experience the ceremonies from her funeral, and we filmed it and put out a video on it. But it just kind of really made me realize how delicate life is and how to enjoy the moments that we have. And it really had a profound change on me. Seeing somebody who was so revered in the community. She was scheduled to go to the Olympics for surfing, and when all this happened, so she was literally a country hero, if you will, a young girl, and that was very impactful for me.
Yeah, to see all the emotions of the community as well.
Yeah. If you guys haven't seen that video, we'll link it right here.
Yeah.
I encourage you to go watch the video to learn about Catherine Diaz.
Yeah, it was special. Yeah. For me, it's one that here recently in a video we've highlighted a little bit, and it was when we got stuck in Argentina. And what was so special about it is it truly highlights the beauty of people, the kindness of people that we ran into all around the world. And there were many instances of that. But
too many.
That for sure stands above and beyond on what the selflessness of that family when they helped us get unstuck and stayed there with us. And I won't recap the whole thing, but it just kind of opened our eyes to, it put a spotlight on that we listened to the media talking all these horrible things about these countries around the world that most of us never even see or go to or know anybody from, and that we got to sit there and witness the true humanity of people.
Yeah.
That would be that one for me.
Yeah, those are individual moments, but guys, we survived on the kindness of people who didn't know us, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, it was. All right. What was a simple, non-travel moment, something like a meal or a slow morning or even just a conversation somewhere that we still find ourselves talking about today?
Oh my gosh, 55 countries, 6.5 years. Every day is a memory of some sort, and we talk about a lot of them. But the Buenos crossing is kind of the worst road we were ever on, where we didn't think we
comes back a lot.
It comes up in a lot of conversations with our friends, and there's also been some epic hikes for me that just are etched in my brain. Yeah. But what about you?
For me, it's any time we were parked on a beach and whales were jumping in the distance. So that happened a lot in Baja, and it happened a lot in Brazil. And we talk about that all the time.
We do.
Yeah. And so it's not a specific instance, but just the piece of sitting on the beach, spending the night there, opening the slider door, and whales jumping off in the distance. That would be it for me.
I think in the 6 years, we did about 2 videos a day. So
A lunch.
there's a bunch of videos that we did.
2 videos a week. Oh my Lord, 2 videos a day.
Yeah, that's like 2 videos a week. I'm sorry. That's like 100 videos a year. So
Yeah.
6.5 years, 600 videos. It is loaded with
whales.
Loaded with beautiful experiences.
Yes, it is. Okay, let's see. How did having Vanna and G Money anchor us during some of the crazier times in the van?
What's wild is a lot of people in the comments from time to time would ask us, do you regret bringing your pets? Do you regret bringing the cats? And the answer is absolutely not. They are part of our family. We love them to pieces. We love spending time with them. Any inconvenience we had to do for crossing borders, pet paperwork, neither of us ever complained about that. It was part of it. But they're our family. So, yeah.
Yeah, so, when you're on a vacation, like a typical vacation, and it's time to go home, and I know we've all said it, there's no place like home. Well, imagine being on a vacation for 6 years, how you would long for a home. Because vacations are fantastic, but you always wanted to go home. Having those little kitties in the van with us meant every night we were home.
We were.
And they didn't just anchor during the chaotic times. They anchored the entire journey. So 0 regrets, and would 100% take them both with us if we did it all over again. Right?
100%.
All right. Living in such a small space, day in and day out, how did you two keep the peace and grow closer rather than apart?
Well, it is indeed a 94 square foot van. So in the van is very small, but the world is a huge place. And we had so much stuff to explore. Snow and I get up at different times. I get up in the morning. I have quiet time in the morning. She has quiet time in the bed. And the opposite happens at night. And then, for me, I always had I frequently had long hikes or little places to stroll. And I'm out there in the nature with the negative ions and the birds and the trees. And, it's all the getaway time that I ever needed.
Yeah, and you guys saw the videos, so for us to sit here and say there were never any debates, we'll call them debates, that just simply wouldn't be true. Of course, you're just like in a house, you're going to have things that you disagree on, but communication when you're living in such a small space is key. It's required. You have to figure out how to talk through things, which was never my strong suit before. I would always just go off and pout and put it off and bury it, but you can't do that in a van. So your communication, we got better at that throughout the journey. And I think
you have to figure it out.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to kind of figure out your differences, and you have to figure it out quick, because there's no just going into the other room and hanging out. You're going to get up tomorrow and you got to decide which way to point the van and where you're going to go and how you're going to get there. And that takes communication. That takes 2. Over time, we became a team of 2.
Yeah.
And really, we understood that. We understood that there was nobody that was going to bail us out.
Yeah, you're by yourselves.
We had to bail each other out.
Yeah, Team Snow and Curt. That's how it was. And that did bring everything closer. It did. So you have to be open to figuring out how it works. Yeah.
But communication, though, that's the key.
Yes. And I know that sounds cliche, but that's what it is.
That's what it is.
That's what it is. All right. Okay, this one's specifically for you.
Oh.
Curt, since you are often behind the lens, what is the one thing that you saw or experienced while traveling and filming that changed your personal perspective on the world the most?
I'm going to tell you that's an unfair question. And the reason it's unfair because it was accumulation. It wasn't just one specific experience. But the thing about looking behind the lens of a camera, not a pocket, but a camera with a zoom lens, is that you see things closely. and watching the birds and watching the monkeys and seeing, you know, how they eat, how they act, how they preen themselves and all that stuff, and just understanding the simplicity of life through them, and how stuff that you don't even see now comes close, the colors, the feathers, the textures, their behaviors, all this stuff, just seeing it in different birds and different animals around the world was just hypnotic to me. And I don't know, it just kind of takes you out of your brain, and just everything goes away, and it's quiet and it's peaceful and it's harmonious and it's beautiful, and it had a dramatic impact on my life.
Yeah. And I was fortunate enough to get to watch all that video footage that he shot with y'all. Yes, maybe a little bit sooner than you saw it, but I got the joy of watching it too. All right, the next one is just for me. Snow, you are the narrator usually of the channel, which is true. Looking back at all the footage.
She has such a soft, buttery voice, doesn't she, guys?
Looking back at all the footage, what is the one story or feeling from the road that you are most proud of capturing? So I was thinking about this one for a little bit while we've been sitting here shooting this video. And I don't know if it's the timing of what's going on in the world right now, but even before World Cup season, even before that, this has always stood out as a very special moment to us. And our journey, I think, had a lot to do with timing. And this one was being in the right place at the right time. And it happened to be when I was recovering from my heart surgery. And we were in Buenos Aires, Argentina, during the last World Cup 4 years ago. And we had this little apartment that had a balcony up on the third floor that overlooked the city streets. And being able to capture and witness, I'm getting chill bumps now.
Me too.
The Argentine people celebrate, and the excitement that grew as they moved farther and farther along. And we'd go down into the streets and do the street parties with them and go to watch parties with them. But seeing how an entire country could come together for one big event and be there and watch the progression as they got closer and closer to the final. And I'm going to cry because I get so excited and watch that city just explode when they
15
won.
million people.
And we got to put it on camera. It was
Yeah.
unbelievable. It really was.
And-
so that was it for me.
And I just got to add a couple things to that because they would have huge watch parties at the park with the big TVs and stuff. And I remember the game during Mexico, and it's tied 0-0. You could have heard a pin drop, 50, 60,000 people there. I don't know how many, 40,000, whatever.
A lot.
And when they scored, the whole city erupted. And since Snow was right after her heart attack, it was hot. We had to get out of there. And we went looking for a cab. And the whole entire city of 15 million people, there was not a cab to be found because everyone was glued to their TV watching the game. I mean, everyone.
And I want to give you guys a concept, if you can't grasp it, of what 15 million people means. New York City is 7.5 to 8 million people. So Buenos Aires is huge, and there was nobody in the streets. It was an incredible time.
And the irony is, prior to that, we had never watched or paid attention to football. We had seen a couple Orlando City soccer games, but we didn't know the sport, and we learned it and learned to love it. And we love Argentina. We love Messi.
We love the whole Argentina team. They're fantastic. But another ironic thing is we're filming this on Sunday morning. You'll either see it Wednesday or Saturday coming up. But we have to hurry because in 2 hours
is the championship game. Argentina and Spain. Vamos Argentina,
yes,
vamos
yes.
Messi.
All right, okay, so let's get to the next one. Where are we at? Okay. After seeing so many countries, does it feel hard to get excited about normal things now?
Yes.
Do you worry that you've already seen the best of what the world has to offer? Or do you believe you can reach that same level of wonder again? I sure hope we can. We have a lot of world left to see, a lot of planning to do to figure out how to get there, but we've got so much of Asia, so much like in the Indonesian islands, and so much out in the Pacific, and Australia and New Zealand. There's so much we haven't seen.
Norway.
So yes, there's a lot of wonder for us yet to see. But Kurt's initial answer of yes, it's hard.
Well, I'll explain it. It doesn't feel like it right now, guys. And once we get to a point in our lives when we can start moving again, and hopefully we'll get that wonder back.
Yeah.
But as Snow said already, it's been a tough transition.
Yeah. Yes, it has. And we'll leave that at that because there's already been enough tears in this video. All right. This kind of ties to that one, and we can dive a little deeper here. Is it actually possible to find that same high of discovery in your own backyard or through local trips? Or is that something we're still figuring out? I want to go first on this one. We tried, but what I think we learned, and what there's around us, there's some amazing places, Itchitutney Springs, Crystal River, some beautiful, fantastic places. But I think a lot of the joy we've gotten from our journey is the journey to get there, the parts in between. So when we just hop in the van and drive 30 minutes down the road to the famous, beautiful Itchitutney Springs, it's wonderful, but we're missing that part of what we see on the way there. I don't think we can duplicate the feelings we got from our van life journey around the world by doing local trips.
I also think there's a lot to be said about exploring the unknown, the amazement of seeing something for the first time. And, it's just always such a beautiful thing, when we walked to Iguazu Falls and you look on that, and we'd been to Niagara Falls and we saw how enormous this was. It's just like, you're just aghast.
Yeah.
And I could tell you so many times that we would look on the beauty of our planet and just be aghast at that because of the newness. And we've all experienced that when something's in our backyard, we don't appreciate it as much as we have to travel halfway around the world to see it. True, right, guys?
Yeah, it's true.
But anyway, I would say that element is something that we'll probably crave until
we can
feed it.
Till we can feed it. All right, now that you're back in Florida, do you find yourselves appreciating things that you might have totally taken for granted before you left on your travels? Yes.
I can tell you that in the United States, you can get anything you want, tools, parts, foods. We have so many choices of different options that just don't exist in other parts of the world. And even like Europe doesn't have all the little things that you can just go to the store, go to the Walmart, go to the Home Depot, wherever you shop, the Amazon, and have it delivered right to your house.
Yeah, that day sometimes.
It's unequaled around the world. And so some of those conveniences, and I will tell you, we do also have the best infrastructure. So those are a couple things that I really appreciate.
As compared to living in a van and living in a house, showers, full-time running water, rolling in and out of the bed instead of crawling in and out of the bed. Yes, there are a lot of modern conveniences that we look at differently now than we did a dishwasher. My gosh, a dishwasher. But I would give every one of them up tomorrow to be back in a van driving somewhere cool around the world, right? All right, which brings us to, at the beginning we told you stick around to the end and we'd start to talk a little bit about our plans. Our home base is established. What are the future plans? There's still stuff we're working through. There's still financial stuff we're working through, and setting up the home base, that's not complete. There's still some stuff we're dealing with, but we have started to throw some possible future travel ideas out there. You feel like sharing any of them?
Well, I think we kind of already alluded to some of them. We really want to do Asia. That's high on our list. We were kind of headed there in the van, and with Africa being hard on our van, and also the instability of the Middle East, it didn't feel like a good time to keep heading east. And so those are areas that we'd love to see, Norway and some of that other stuff. And also probably do some exploring back in the United States. I feel like we've changed as people, and also what we look at, what we enjoy. And so it'd kind of be nice to go back and tour the United States, and definitely see some friends and some family, as well as some of those old places we looked on before, and see, do they still have that spark that we saw in them when we first saw them?
Well, and for years in the comments, we've been taking grief for not taking the van up to Canada. So that's Canada. We're likely coming, and a big spoiler, this is not a decision that has been made, but it is something that we're researching and looking at enough that we drove down to Tampa to an RV show and took a look at some new rigs. Not big rigs, just the next size up from us for a little more comfort as we get older.
And something a little less aggressive than
Yeah.
a 4x4 Sprinter that's designed to carry us through the worst roads in the world.
There will never be another Banyo Road border crossing for these two people. We're getting too old for that. So we did go down and we found one that piqued our interest quite a bit. I don't know if that's our future or not, but it is possible that we get a bigger, more comfortable rig. We do the USA, we do Canada. We revisit Mexico because we missed a lot of it because of COVID. And I see some more whales. And
I will tell you this. One thing in van life that we learned to love and appreciate is living day by day, living in the now.
yeah.
And sort of right now, we're kind of looking ahead to when we can go ahead and start doing that. So we're kind of trying to take things day by day, figure out what the next steps, with a look ahead to a brighter future.
Yeah, yeah. And home base there will always be a home base in our future. It'll never be full-time living in a van. It'll be long-term travel. It'll be 3 months in a country or whatever.
It'll be a different type of travel. We don't know what it is, but we love to travel.
The adventure will return. Just got to be a little bit more patient with us. We've enjoyed sharing these stories from the road with you. And we talked a lot about that Banyo video, so I'm going to put a link to it at the end of the video if you want to watch the craziest road ever. And also, you're going to be able to get a peek if you click on the links to see some of those Argentina World Cup videos. Join us for the stories from the road. You can watch the whole thing and get caught up with us. We're recapping a bunch of it until we can get back out and make brand new adventures. Cheers, guys. Now that's a wrap on this adventure. But if you loved joining us, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to hit that notification bell too. That way you're always the very first to know exactly when our next video drops. And for all the updates between videos, come follow us over on Facebook and Instagram.